Thank you for joining us. I'm Joy,
And I'm Laura.
and this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into Season 3, Episode 10, Dream a Little Dream of Me.
I was waiting for Laura to burst into song.
I do keep singing that song. I watched this episode about 4 days ago and I've been singing it ever since.
It is a legitimate earworm, that song. It's a great song, but it will
Yeah.
also live rent-free in your head until you die.
Yeah, and it is just from seeing, when I see Dream a Little Dream written down, it just goes into my head straight away.
That is a seriously powerful earworm.
Yeah.
So, speaking of powerful and strange things, Laura, I have a ghost story to tell you.
Ooh.
Ooh, more like. So, my husband's grandmother passed away a few years ago, and she was an absolutely amazing lady. During World War II, she was actually a female firefighter in London. So she was
Ah,
part of the voluntary fire service. And I think it's incredible. While so many people were running away from the bombings, she was running towards them and putting the fire out. She
yeah,
was
definitely.
this dainty, she was tall, but she was so dainty and she's so tiny. If you look at her in their wedding photos, she's just so pretty and so cute, and she looks so shy. It's hard for me to picture it, and having known her only in her hundreds, because she lived to be like something like 109. Like
Wow.
she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. I can and I can't picture it. Like, she was such a faceted person. So she had a great relationship with her son, with her children. She was a fantastic lady. And when she passed away, we were all really sad. Now, did have a casual attitude towards like death and the afterlife and stuff. Like, she was a pretty staunch atheist. And she used to joke that after she passed away, we could just throw her remains in the bin, which obviously is not what was done. But that's like her sense of humor. Gives you a little bit of a taste of her personality. So her son gets his mom's ashes and puts her in the attic. And they took her TV from her house and put it in their bedroom, okay? And I was like, when Nick told me this story the other day, I was like, what do you mean they put grandma in the attic? I was like, why? What was the logic? Like, what was happening here in their mind? I don't understand this decision making. Um, I was confused, honestly. Like, I was really just default confused. And he said to me that at like 2 and 3 in the morning, her TV was turning itself on by itself. Like, it was just coming on in the middle of the night.
Ew.
And I was like, she obviously doesn't enjoy being in the attic.
No.
And I was like, this is wild. This is wild. And so he goes to message his mom, her daughter in law, for confirmation that he has this whole story absolutely correct. And not only did she say yes, this woman chimes in with, she never did like the cold. Because obviously the attic is cold. I was like, what the hell? Now, it does have a cute ending. So when grandma's husband passed away, they scattered his ashes in the local cemetery. It was his wishes, it was what he wanted. And so at some point after, she started haunting them for putting her in the attic, presumably, and nicking her TV. Um, they scattered her alongside her husband, which is very sweet. So they're now together
Yeah.
again and enjoying
Aw.
the afterlife, I'm sure. And I also feel a bit smug because grandma was such a staunch like atheist and everything, and she's clearly still with us by
Hmm.
haunting people. So I was like, heh heh.
How long was she in the attic before she started haunting people? Or was this like pretty instant?
I feel like they didn't give me a timeline, but my understanding was that it was fairly instantaneous because
Okay.
her son believes in none of the hokum pokum type, like, interesting stuff. The hocus pocus is not a thing that he thinks of. So, like, for him and his wife, who are just complete skeptics of everything, to be like, "Yeah, we think she's unhappy with us for putting her in the attic," I feel like it must have been pretty straight away because they
Yeah.
immediately connected the dots and were like, "Oh, grandma ghost."
I think I was just confused to start with because I thought that this had just happened, but you just heard about it now. Is that what it
Oh,
is?
yeah, no, so
Yeah.
I literally just found out about it the other day. So
Yeah.
it was brand new news to me, but the actual timeline is quite a bit longer.
Yeah. Okay. That
And
makes
I
sense.
think she haunted them for I don't know if it was weeks or if it was months, y'all. I don't know, because it took them a while to put her out there with her husband. So, like, I do
Aw.
not know.
That is funny.
Yeah, all she wanted to do was go on a date with her husband.
Aw, that's cute.
Yeah, it's pretty adorable. That's my preamble ramble for you. Do you have anything fun for your preamble ramble?
Yes. Well, I've got a couple of things. So,
Ooh, ooh.
first of all, I really like this episode because I really like dream stuff.
Mm.
Like, I love talking about dreams. I know lots of people think talking about dreams is boring, but I think they must just have boring dreams because I have very vivid dreams and I like talking about them. But yeah.
I agree with you. I think dreams are absolutely fascinating on so many levels.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if any of our listeners want to talk about dreams, then just send me an email. I'll read it. I'll listen to it.
That could be a really fun bonus episode.
Oh,
Have
bonus
everybody send in their
episode.
dreams, we do a bonus
Yeah.
episode, and then we could interpret them for funsies as well, you know?
Yeah, have send dreams in. I could read stuff out of my dream journal and you can see how unhinged my dreams are.
You have to do that. Guys, if you want to hear Laura's dream journal, write in. Write in on the Spotify comments because those are the ones that we see. Comment anywhere that you want to. Comment on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, rate us on Apple, rate us anywhere where you listen to us. However, for communication purposes, comment on Spotify because that's the ones that we actually read because we try, but we don't remember that the other ones exist if we're completely honest most of the time. So you can either email us or you can comment on Spotify and you were guaranteed to get an answer basically. Um
Yeah.
we love talking to you guys. Your comments literally make our day. I actually have a file on my phone that is just podcast replies because you make me
Ah,
so happy.
yeah. I have nightmares like all the time as well. I have nightmares like really frequently.
Yeah, I've had some wild nightmares in my time.
Hmm. Yeah. I also used to be obsessed when I was little of trying to astral project and like lucid dream, which is goes with this episode.
I just watched the newest Insidious movie, and that's all about astral projection, so that's funny.
Ooh, I haven't seen that yet.
It was actually pretty good. Like, I would recommend it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
definitely fan fiction to The Shining, but in, like, a
Hmm.
fairly decent way, so I think you'd probably really like it.
Yeah. I've only watched the first Insidious, I think, maybe the first two.
Bro. When I tell you okay, a very short backstory to the Nick and Joy lore. When Nick and I first started dating, he was so happy that I was into horror movies too. And I was like, yes, but there are limits, right? So I'm not like a horror fan in the way that Nick and Carly and arguably Laura are, because I feel like Nick and Carly for sure will just binge horror 24/7, no issues. Laura, I think, can do that, but I think that she has, like, she specifically will want to watch a specific thing. Anytime we're asking each other what
Yeah.
we want to watch, Laura's always goes for horror. Like, she might start out some other genre, but she always goes straight back to horror. Whereas I'm like a mood watcher. The things that I watch for entertainment are directly linked to what has happened in my day and my week and stuff. So I love horror,
Yeah.
but I don't always want to go straight to horror, right? And I
I
didn't
don't
really
like
want to.
watching it on my own. I like watching horror with other people because
Yeah,
I
it's
get too
more
scared.
fun. That too. Whereas Nick and Carly will literally fall asleep to people screaming, bleeding out, and dying on
Yeah.
like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, etc. And that makes me laugh so hard. So anyway, so Nick really wants me to watch the first Insidious, right? And I was like, okay, but you have to promise that you're not going to fall asleep and leave me sitting here watching. Because I was like, I knew what I'd seen the trailer. I was like, this movie is going to fuck me up. So I was like, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to face my fears, but you best be awake. And I shit you not, guys. Literally, like 15 minutes in, this bitch is snoring next to me. And I was like, how? You oh, and I was like, I'm never gonna trust you again to not fall asleep because he falls asleep so fast during movies. Like he has a set bedtime because he gets up really early for work and he has done since he was a kid. And so like that bedtime is pretty locked. And he falls asleep unbelievably early. And that's not the only horror movie he's abandoned me to. So, fun times. Fun times for me. But that experience definitely made the movie scarier for me because it was supposed to be like a fun date activity, and instead it turned into me rocking back and forth, surrounded by blankets, hoping that I wasn't about to get haunted or pulled through the TV screen.
I do have a fun fact for the preamble.
Tell me all about it.
Um, apparently, this is from IMDb. Apparently, the original premise of this episode was to feature Jeffrey Dean Morgan again, so like John Winchester,
Daddy Winchester.
and
Yes, please.
he was supposed to be the person who appeared in Dean's dream, but he was too busy filming Watchmen, so the writers chose to have Dean encounter himself in the dream instead, and John is just brought up in the conversation. But I mean, it would have been good to see him again, but I think Dean facing Dean was pretty good.
That scene where he's fighting himself is literally amazing, and Jensen
Mm,
Ackles did an incredible job, and, like, I feel like you can visually differentiate the 2 performances. Like, sometimes when you have an actor and they're literally just fighting themselves, obviously, it's really challenging because what you have is, like, a stunty or a body double, and that's what they're doing, and they're trying to really act it. But then they have to go back again and act the other part as well, and so it's
yeah,
such an awkward experience, I feel like. It must be so challenging to do that, but he has all these little subtle differences in the way that he is portraying himself that really sell it and make it so both heart-wrenching and also creepy and also awesome.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Loved that scene so much. Um, but I also know I'm conflicted about it because I also know that Jeffrey Dean Morgan, if he was there, would have knocked it out of the park as well, and it would have been really satisfying as, like, the "We Hate John Winchester" fan club to, like, see Dean actually get to lay hands on his dad and take his issues out and, like, process things would have been awesome. Like, it's really impactful that he does it with himself because Dean is basically fighting his own self-hatred and winning, which means that he
Yeah,
starts caring about himself, and you get
yeah.
that from the last scene when he has that conversation with Sam. Um,
And his self-hatred is because of John.
yeah, it's 100% John because John treated him like trash. John
Yeah,
treated him like his whole purpose in life was just to look out for Sam, and Dean as a child did not get to exist. It's like what Laura pointed out when they go into John's bunker, and she was like, "Oh, I hate John so much because Sam has the soccer trophy and Dean had the shotgun."
yeah,
And like, I know I said what I said. I know I made my case in that episode, but I cannot tell if I was being a little bit naive and a little bit overly hopeful of John's character, because when you see this and you see the script and you know that they meant for him to actually get his issues out with John, like, oh, it hits different. It just really hits different. That whole
yeah,
scene hits so different when you have that information.
yeah. I thought it was really well done. Also, did you realise that we are now over halfway through season 3 already because it's so short?
I did because I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna have to start working on the graphics for season 4."
There's only 16 episodes in this season and we're on 10.
Yeah, and the other thing is there's so many pivotal things that happen in season 4. Sometimes I feel like a dick because I'm like, "All these amazing things are happening, Laura, but not yet." But, like,
Yeah, you
genuinely
dick.
Oh, it took me out. Genuinely, really, really soon, we're gonna be on season 4, and we're gonna be hitting such, like, key arcs because, like I'd said to you before, the intention was always for this series to only run to 5 seasons. So season 4 was supposed to be, like, the second to last season of all, and then season 5 was meant to wrap up the whole world. So you get some, like, really cool episodes, really, really cool characters. It is really good stuff. I'm genuinely so excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I feel like the rest of this season sounds quite good as well. I've just seen the titles of the episodes. That's all I've seen, but I know that I've heard of a few of them already, so they must be like popular ones.
Yeah. I think you know what? I'm gonna check. But my feeling is that these are pretty popular seasons. Like, I think that
Yeah.
overall. So let's see. Okay. Yeah. 3 and 4 are usually favorites. Um, People say that season 4 is one of the most popular seasons, um, with season 3, I guess, being kind of like a secondary or third kind of place. So, yeah, like, I think that it's not just me. A lot of people really, really like them.
It's not just me, honest. They're good.
They are. I feel like I'm living that stereotype of, like, there's been a bunch of, like, memes and stuff recently about how Supernatural fans' default setting is to, like, talk about their favorite seasons and try to get all their friends who haven't seen it to watch Supernatural, and I am, like, literally that person right now,
And now you're doing a podcast about it.
and I'm doing a podcast about it. I went so all in. I was like, "Laura, Supernatural's really cool," and Laura was like, "Yeah," and then we did a podcast about it. So, like, I, like, ultra marathoned the fandom from my perspective.
Should we get into it? Do you want me to do the synopsis?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is season 3, episode 10, Dream a Little Dream of Me. The original air date for this episode was February 7th, 2008. Sam and Dean investigate when Bobby falls into a coma and appears to be trapped in a nightmare. They discover that a substance called Dream Root is allowing people to enter and manipulate dreams, and that someone used it to attack Bobby. Sam and Dean ingest the Dream Root themselves and enter Bobby's dream world to save him. During this rescue, they realise Jeremy, who was the subject of a sleep study they had found out about before, is behind the attacks, and go back into the dream world to confront him. Along the way, however, Dean has to confront his deepest fears and insecurities.
Dun, 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 Demon Dean. Yeah, I really like that part of this episode. I think that's one of my favorite parts of the episode.
Mhm.
It's really therapeutic for me every single time I watch it because I feel like Dean and I have a lot of similar issues, and I feel like it's actually, like, legitimately therapeutic and good for me every time I see him doing it. I
Ah.
heal a little bit.
From the recap, I was like, "Oh, is Lisa going to be in it again?" But obviously, she was just in like a little dream sequence.
Yeah, and it's so cute. I love
Yeah,
this. I'm not gonna say too much because I have things I wanna say when we get to the actual scene, but
same.
oh, I love that scene. I love it so much.
Yeah. So, in the opening scene, Bobby is walking around a house at night time, looking like he's searching for something. He hears a whooshing sound that makes him look around. It kind of sounded to me like it could have been a ghost brushing past him or something, but we aren't sure what's going on yet. He goes into a kitchen and then there's a jump scare when a woman lunges at him screaming. He's knocked to the floor, there's flashes of light, and then we see Bobby asleep. The jump scare here got me as well.
Yeah. I wrote, "I don't like Bobby being scared. He's TV
No.
dad, and it's upsetting."
Yeah.
And then I was like, the shrieking, stabbing jump scare legit got me. I was not okay because it did make see, the thing is, I was doing my watch notes today because I was unwell yesterday, so I needed to do them today. So I did them lastminute.com. I have seen this episode multiple times. I know what happens. I know who she is and what she's about to do. But I always forget that one, and it always gets me every single time.
Yeah.
Um, and it made my hands a little shaky. I was like, oh, really got the adrenaline going.
Hmm. I was just like, oh no, poor Bobby.
I know. I love Bobby.
So then we see that he's in a motel room, and the maid comes in. She notices him and apologizes, and then goes to leave, but notices that something must be wrong. She calls to him, and when he doesn't respond, goes over to the bed. She tries to wake him up, and we cut back to Dream Bobby, and the screaming woman is now on top of him, smashing his head against the floor. The maid is now shaking real Bobby, trying to wake him up with no success, and she yells for help, and then that's the end of the opening scene. And I was like, oh no, what's happened to Bobby?
I was like noticing the motel decor because that's a
Oh my
default
God.
setting.
I have notes about the wallpaper.
Do you?
I've called them, they look like peacocks on acid.
They do look like peacocks on acid. I actually really liked like the color scheme and everything. I kind of
Same.
like the scheme of it. But I wrote, why birds? Are birds dreamy? Like, why are birds the theme?
Yeah. I
I
don't
still
know.
don't have an answer.
Maybe it was just because it was that it was very like bright and garish, so that it was the. I just thought it was. supposed to be something on acid so that it fits the theme. Although
Okay.
there were birds, like later on in my notes, I've got that, the little metal partition thing they have up all the time. That was also
Yeah.
birds.
Well, see, that was the thing that got me because I hadn't noticed the pattern of the wallpaper yet. I was just noticing the colors and I was like, oh, the colors are really pretty. Because you got like lots of blues and greens, and
Yeah, it's
blues make a
nice.
lot of sense because that is linked to the subconscious and like calmness, dreams, psychic things. It's kind of like a witchy color reference, to be honest with you. And then you have like the dove outlines in the metal railing because we know props love to mess with the metal railing thing is like their whole
Yeah.
identity. It's what they do. And this time it was doves. And I was like, why is everything? And then I started to notice the wallpaper. I was like, why is it all birds? Like everything is birds. So I assume somewhere birds are linked to dreams. But
Mm.
when I Googled it, I didn't really find anything. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know her. So then Sam is in a bar drinking whiskey. Looks like he's drowning his sorrows. And then Dean comes in and it's like, what are you doing?
The thing is, it's like, is there's lines, okay? I don't gotta even do the whole thing. It's just there's these 2 lines that you need for this whole theme, and that's it. I wrote in my notes, I was like, it's super boppy music to lead us to Sam's day drinking, laughing out loud. I love it when he's basically like, "Shut up, Dean, you can't judge me." It's very you're bossy and short. Remember when he was drunk
Yeah.
in the doll episode? He's like, "You're bossy." Yeah, and short. He's like, "Ha ha." And Dane's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "You get sloppy in bars. You hit on chicks all the time. Why can't I?" And he's all sullen about it and sassy. It's sullen sass. It's sullen sassy Sam. So Dane looks around the bar and there's not a lot of people in there. And there's just one woman at the bar who is much, much, much older than Sam. So I guess it gave Gertrude vibes, perhaps. Um, and Dean goes, "It's kind of slim pickings around here." Then he turns back to Sam and he's like, "What's going on with you?" And Sam shakes his head and he doesn't say anything for a little bit and he looks really lost. And this is where it turns from funny to like a heartfelt conversation. He says, "I tried, Dean." And Dean looks confused, right? And he's like, "To do what?" And Sam says, "To save you." And Dean gives him this look like,
Is this when he rolls his eyes? There's a bit where Dean rolls his
yeah,
eyes,
yeah.
and I was like,
He's like, "Oh, fine, we're gonna
that's
have a
funny.
heart to heart." It's so funny. And then he asks the bartender for a double whiskey. It's just like neat, no ice. He doesn't want to water it down. He wants pure grain alcohol. Um, and Sam's like, "I'm serious, Dean." And Dean's like, "No, you're drunk." And Sam says, "I mean, where you're going, what you're gonna become." And he's like trying to not cry. And he says, "I can't stop it." I'm starting to think maybe even Ruby can't stop it, but really the thing is no one can save you. And Dean's like, "This is what I've been telling you." And Sam's like, "No, that's not what I mean. I mean, no one can save you because you don't want to be saved. I mean, how can you care so little about yourself?" And Dean basically just like scoffs.
Yeah, I don't agree with Sam here, by the way.
I do, but I don't. That was that was when I put down Sam is mad at Dean for having heroic low self-esteem. Bless. Because like he sees the root of the issue and is mad at his brother. However, that's not really the way to do it. So like he's really drunk
Hmm.
and I feel like if he was sober he wouldn't have phrased it that way. Um but yeah, I feel like
It
come
came
on.
across to me as like, and normally I agree with Sam, but
Yeah.
it's like Dean is the one that's going to be going to hell, and Sam's kind of making it about how he feels about it.
Yeah. Well, this is what I've been saying all season. How are you suddenly coming over to my side?
I
I
don't
mean,
obviously
come
don't
on
like
in.
drunk Sam. I do have issues with drunk people actually, and I have some issues and trauma there. Um,
Yeah, same. Same.
so maybe he triggered me.
Maybe.
But also, I was like, when Sam says he can't be saved because he doesn't want to be saved, I was like, no,
Yeah.
he can't be saved because he's made a deal with the devil, and that's a pretty binding contract.
To resurrect you.
Yeah, it's not
He's
like
the reason you're alive.
you don't want to be
Yeah.
saved because you can't be saved because you don't want to be saved. It's like he's not. He's talking to him like he's some sort of addict.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that a lot, and I agree with you. It's interesting when you contrast this scene to the very last scene where
Mm.
Dean's like, I wanna be saved.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, "Yeah, we'll find a way." And that's very heartwarming.
Yeah.
Um, and that definitely shows his progress after he has literally fought his inner demon. Um, so that's a fun thing to have in this episode. I love dream-like episodes like that where you see a character fighting themselves. Like, I loved it on Xena. There's so many shows that have done it. Some of them do it really well, and some of them it's silly. But, this one, really, really, really good. Like, this one is the
Yeah.
best example, in my opinion.
So then this is where Dean then gets a phone call, and it's the hospital about Bobby because he's Bobby's emergency contact. Oh, I
Yep.
didn't get the reference. Who's Mr. Snyderson? I tried looking it
Um,
up as well and I couldn't find anything.
I feel like that might just be a fake name
An
that lets
actual
him know.
name?
I think so because hear me out. It's not a job reference, and I think that's the clue. So, like, the emergency contact reference, I feel like is not a witty rock quip because they want them to be able to separate it out from a job.
Yeah. Okay. And I
Yeah,
suppose Bobby probably came up with the name rather than Dean too.
100%. Yeah, because Dean would name it something like insulting, funny, or ridiculous, or it'd be like a Star Wars reference or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they drive to the hospital and they are looking over Bobby comatose in a hospital bed. And Sam is asking what the diagnosis is. The doctors don't know what is causing it, so they don't know how to treat it. And they say he just went to sleep and didn't wake up. I had a fun fact here, which is one of
Mm.
Jared's pranks. So it says, in one of the scenes where Bobby is in a coma, Jared Padalecki was twisting Jim Beaver's toes. So he's trying to make him laugh when he's supposed to be in a coma.
That is classic Padalecki.
Yeah.
Classic Padalecki. Like, that's I think I've seen in some of the gag reels, I think I've seen him laugh and then call somebody like a son of a bitch or something to that effect, and now I have the context because now I know it was Jared messing with him, and then there's like a turnaround to Jared, but because they don't explain what's happening, it's really short. I didn't really feel like I had enough context to find it funny. I was like, "What even is that?" But now I know. Now I know.
So then they go to Bobby's motel room. They presume he was on a job and search for any research that he was doing.
Mm.
Sam finds a hunter's research board on the closet wall behind all the
Do
clothes.
we think he was psychic Sam a little bit?
Maybe, yeah. They were searching around everywhere though. Oh, I actually have a question about psychic Sam, but it's at the end when Bobby brings it up.
The thing that I noticed this watch through is he said where it was before he moved anything. So before it would have been in
Ah.
his field of vision, he calls it and says, "This is where it is." And then there's a couple of other moments in this episode where he does things that give fire baby, psychic
Ah.
fire baby
But
vibes.
he told us that that all went away when Yellow Eyes died, so was he lying?
Do we believe him?
I don't know, because at the end of the episode when Bobby asks him about it, he's just like, "No, but
But he
maybe
looks
yes."
really uncomfortable. Yeah, yeah, he looks like he's outright lying. So this is the thing that makes me go, "Huh, Sam, are you
Hmm.
actually using your powers?"
Yeah. Sam asks if Dean understands any of it, and he takes a clipping about some plants off the wall, looks at it, and says it means nothing to him. And I wrote, "I thought you were a botanist, Dean. You were in the last episode."
Yeah, yeah,
He knew about all the plants last week.
yeah.
um, Sam finds an obituary on the wall for a neurologist at the university called Dr. Greg, who also just went to sleep and never woke up. Sam assumes Bobby was looking into this doctor's death and hunting something, and then Dean agrees and said it started hunting him. Dean tells Sam to stay there while he looks into the doctor. And then we cut to Dean at the university talking to Dr. Greg's lab assistant. He's asking about the doctor's study into sleep disorders and dreams. The lab assistant tries to brush him off, saying she already spoke to a detective and she's really busy, so can they do this later? And Dean's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll just take you down to the station." She says she didn't know anything about the doctor's experiments until she was clearing out his files and says that no one knew. She also says she's already spoken to a lawyer who says that she can't be held liable for anything. And Dean's like, well, maybe, but now there's new evidence. And then she starts to panic, and he tells her she needs to hand over all of his research if she doesn't want to get into trouble.
No, this is the best part, because I wrote down Dean knows how to threaten a nerd because he knows what would upset Sam. And I, being a nerd, find this hilarious, right? He says, maybe so, but still, this could go on your permanent record. And I laughed so hard because it's the ultimate academic threat. And he says, unless you hand over the doctor's research to me, all of it. And I died laughing at this part. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, it was funny. So then we cut to Dean at the door of one of the doctor's test subjects, Jeremy Frost. He thinks Dean's there to bust him about growing some pot at first. He says that he heard the doctor just died and then offers Dean a beer. And my notes were, don't drink that, Dean. I don't trust him. This was so suspicious, and I'm surprised that he fell for it, because why would anyone offer a detective who's on duty a beer?
It is a little suspect because he was giving such hardcore stoner vibes. I was like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. He should have just offered him a soft drink, and then it would have made the plot make more sense. Also, guess what?
What?
He has green eyes.
For fuck's sake, Laura.
It's not me.
This is the most random conspiracy theory.
Well, why does
ever.
everyone have green eyes? It's supposed to be rare.
I mean, it can still be rare, but you can have people hand selecting actors. You can have a casting
They're
director that's
discriminating.
obsessed with green eyes and only hiring actors with green eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's the conspiracy theory. Or they're changing everyone's eyes.
That's the other side of the conspiracy theory. That's conspiracy theory part B. So to just take us back to the actual episode for a second, I wrote down the Robert Plant badge in conjunction with I was just growing ferns made me laugh my ass off because it's like a double weed pun. And it's also a rock pun. So I was thriving. I thought that was amazing.
So Green-Eyed Jeremy says that he has a condition.
Green-Eyed Jeremy! For fuck's sake!
I just added that in. I didn't have that in my notes.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah.
Okay, new drinking game, guys, for those of you who are of age and it's safe for you to do so in perfectly reasonable amounts. Every time she brings this up, you should definitely drink your beer a little bit, because I feel like this is going to be an ongoing theme in the podcast. We're going to be in season 15, just going to be like, everyone has green eyes.
So Jerry says he has a condition caused by an accident when he was little that resulted in a head injury that means he can't dream. And I think that's actually quite sad, because I wouldn't like to have that condition. Because even though I have like nightmares all the time, I still like being able to dream.
Yeah.
And also when he said the head injury thing, I was like, he's definitely the bad guy, because so many serial killers have had serious head injuries.
Listen, I've had 3 concussions.
Are you a serial killer? It's right, you can tell me. I won't tell anyone.
Laura! Come on now. Oh, my days. So then Dean looks at him thoughtfully, because he says that he dropped out of the study right after he had all these intense dreams, and that it was like really, really trippy and it scared him. And Dean gives him this really intense look. And we can't tell, like, we can't read what it is, but like he definitely thinks that he's onto something. Then we cut to the hospital, and Dean is sitting by Bobby's bed looking at him really thoughtfully. And then Sam enters after a couple of seconds, and Sam asks him how Bobby is. And he says, no change. What do you got? So Sam says, well, considering what you told me about the doc's experiments, Bobby's well is starting to make a hell of a lot more sense. And Dean's like, how so? So he holds up the picture of the African dream root and says, this plant, Silena capensis, is also known as African dream root. It's been used by shaman and medicine men for centuries. And I can botanically and lore-wise fact check that is actually correct. I have some notes about it in my show notes if you guys want to learn about it. But I thought it was really cool that it only opens at night. It's described as having this beautiful, intense perfume. and people have these really interesting and deep experiences. So for certain places, it is actually a sacred plant.
Yeah, cool.
And I love that. I think that's fascinating. Scientists have tried to break down the chemical compounds in it to sort of explain why it has the effect that it has. But I went to my good friend Reddit and I found this really short but really funny story from a Reddit user. So this is by equivalent dash yellow 416 2 years ago on this lucid dreaming thread, because a lot of people outside of the culture who are using it in an attempt to lucid dream. So they said, last night before going to sleep, I took 1 gram of African root. I never had so many dreams. I even woke up at 1 a.m. and I was like in a trance. All of a sudden, I opened uncooked hard pasta and started to munch it, and it didn't seem strange at all. In the morning, I found out that I had a broken tooth stool. Very
Oh.
strange. And then Myco Magic underneath wrote, sounds like Ambien. And that had me laughing so hard. So back in the episode, Dean and Sam are talking about the lore. And Sam goes on to tell Dean a little bit more about it. And Dean says, let me guess, they dose up, bust out the didgeridoos, start kicking around the hacky. And I was like, eye roll. And Sam says, not quite. If you believe the legends, it's used for dream walking. I mean, entering another person's dreams, poking around in their heads. And Dean says, I take it we believe the legends. And then they share this look. And Sam's like, when don't we? But dream walking is just the tip of the iceberg. So then he pulls out yet more papers. And Dean's like, what do you mean? And Sam says, I mean, this dream route is some serious mojo. You take enough of it with practice, you can become a regular Freddy Krueger. And I was like,
Yeah, that's funny.
the Nightmare on Elm Street references in this episode are great. So Sam goes on to say you can control anything. You could turn bad dreams good. You could turn good dreams bad. And Dean's like, and you could kill people in their sleep? And Sam nods. And he's like, for example. So Dean sighs because he's like, well, we've obviously got to save Bobby. Like, that's the subtext of it. So Sam says, so let's say this doc was testing this stuff on his patients, Tim Leary style. And here, my friends, I have for you our Easter egg. Because when I looked up what this was referencing, this story just gets wilder and wilder and wilder. I'm going to do a summation of it because I cannot dig into everything. It's too much stuff. However, in my show notes, there's a whole bunch of articles and links and stuff if you want to go down this particular rabbit hole because it is wild. Like, if there is not a documentary about this man in the next 6 years, I will eat my hat. Like, it is crazy. Okay. It's crazy. So, Tim Leary, he starts out as a clinical psychologist at Harvard University, right? Very, very respectful.
Mhm.
He starts the Harvard psilocybin project basically after going to Mexico and having some magic mushrooms in 1960. So he then spends 2 years testing the potential therapeutic effects of mushrooms on people's brains. So the important thing to remember is he's like a psychiatrist, right? He's not a
Mhm.
neurologist, he's not a biochemist. So some of the argument he's a very controversial figure. Some of the arguments against him are that he doesn't have the correct degrees to be making the sweeping statements that he's then going to make. But if you listen to a lot of the mushrooms are good for you crowd and mushrooms might be able to cure PTSD, that is like he sort of laid the groundwork for all of that stuff. He had a very cult like following in the 60s, and he was a huge part of the counterculture. He was deeply involved in politics. He even ran for governor of California against, I shit you not, Ronald Reagan. And then towards
Whoa.
the latter part of the swinging 60s and all of the craziness that ensues, okay, you have Reagan with his quote unquote war on drugs, which we also all now know was a spearheaded kind of thing where conservatives were trying to really hurt black and brown people and create advantages. So initially, there were a lot of drugs that are illegal now. They're class A offenses, but back in the day were totally legal. So at this point, um, LSD at the time is legal. And what he's doing with mushrooms is initially legal and then things changed. And if you look at this, it looks like this war between Reagan and him. So you have like the Democrats on one side and then you have Reagan on the other side. Neither of them are perfect. But oh my God, it gets really wild. So for some highlights for you guys, and like really do go look into this because the whole thing is absolutely insane. He did experiments in a prison on inmates where his theory was that if he treated them with psychotherapy and specifically with psychedelics, that he could rehabilitate them and help prevent future crimes so that they would be less likely to commit crimes again. And according to his results, he had way less in terms of repeat offenses than other studies. There was like a 30-year study done on this study to check the veracity of it, and there's sort of mixed results. And one of the issues with him is that while he's conducting all of these experiments and he's on this huge soapbox about how awesome psychedelics are, he's doing them himself, right? It starts with his vacation trip to Mexico. And he's like, oh my God, this sacred, amazing plant unlocks the universe kind of a vibe, right?
Yeah, it
So
doesn't
he's
surprise me. He's
high.
also doing it.
Yeah. He's then in his Harvard lectures encouraging his students to all do it as well. He's like, this
God
is a
Fisher.
great idea. We should all do this. And so while he's conducting this study, it's obviously not a great scientific practice. He's high too. He is high, like studying himself and getting firsthand results, but then also conducting the study. So that's not really how science works. It's not a very well controlled experiment. And the problem with it is it then means you have to throw away all of the results. He also didn't have in the number of experts that he really should have had to back up all of his claims. So that's kind of hilarious to me. At some point, he gets arrested and has his wife break him out of jail. All right. He
What?
he does endless yoga while he's in jail. He's writing her these letters. He's like, "Babe, you've got to get me the fuck out of prison. I do not like it here." While he's in there, before he got fired from Harvard for telling everyone to do drugs, he fucking wrote this huge paper about how to test inmates because he was trying to make life better for inmates and he was also trying to help crime stop by just treating people's mental health issues. He really believed that a lot of it had to do with mental health and that if you could help people, things would get better all the way around, right? So like he writes this personality test to give to each inmate that helps determine how dangerous they are and where they should be housed. So because he wrote the fucking test that they give him and no one stopped to think maybe we should reassess, he then obviously fools the test into giving him a job as like a gardener in the lowest security prison area of all because his whole plan is to get himself out, okay? He then conspires with his wife, his lawyers, and an underground group of like happy druggy hippies to break him out of jail. There's a whole escapade, okay? But what you need to know is he did so much yoga that he was very limber and he was able to somehow climb through a tiny space up, I think it's something like a 20-foot pole, and then over a telephone wire, over razor wire, then drops himself down where there's a
Oh
car
God.
waiting. There's code names. It's crazy, y'all. It's like watching Men Who Stare at Goats, but in like real time, okay? He then gets into the car, drives down to the border, gets himself out of there. Him and his wife go hook up with the Black Panthers, who are in exile in Algiers. Okay, but they were such socialite party animal inconsiderate house guests that the people who were sheltering them ended up putting them on house arrest and locking them in their room because they were being twats. They got outraged by this and decided to leave to go to, I think it was Switzerland. Then there's more extraditions and more arrests and more, and it just gets crazier. Okay. It literally from there continues to get even wilder. Okay, so we have him in Switzerland. Then gets extradited there's a long chain of events where he flees from country to country until eventually the government has a long enough arm or enough shady dealings that they bring him in back to America. Okay. So he gets brought back to America and they put him in prison with fucking Charles Manson. And so he's in isolation. He's in Folsom Prison, by the way. He's in isolation because they think he's too dangerous to be near other people. They think he's too persuasive. They're not sure what he might be able to do, if he might be able to like start a riot or something. So they put him in deep isolation. So the other person who's there, Charles fucking Manson, and they sit down and they have all these conversations because they can't see each other, but they can hear each other through the cells. And basically, he explains his work to Charles Manson, and Charles Manson is flabbergasted as a cult leader that he who basically had this cult following didn't use his LSD tactics to manipulate his followers. And Charles Manson turns around to him and says, well, you were brought in, you started your work so that I could finish it. Because I guess he thinks he's going to get out and then do another cult thing. And he's like, I've just learned all of these tactics from this psychotherapist about now how I'm going to use LSD to manipulate people is clearly his thinking, because that's Charles Manson, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's just so crazy. Like, of all the people to put him next to, Charles Manson? Really? Really? Shit's wild, dude. It's wild. I had never heard of this before.
No.
And there's yet more rabbit holes to go down. Okay, but we have to get back to the episode, really. But like, bro, that's like, I have given you guys the tip of the iceberg. It gets so much crazier.
That was wild.
It is a wild, wild ride. Okay, so Sam says the line about Timothy Leary style. Also, there's a really funny outtake in the gag reel where Jared tries to say this line about 6 times, and it's so funny. I've done an edit of it that's like up on our page at the moment if you haven't caught that reel yet. But he like tries so hard, guys. He's trying so hard and he just can't get it out. And you can see Jensen crack towards the end where he's trying to be supportive, but he just is finding it so hilarious that Jared is struggling with this like really basic scene. It's amazing. So Dean says that somebody must have gotten really angry and decided to give him a dream visit. And then he goes 99, and he means like forever. He did. So Sam says, but what about Bobby? And it kind of zooms in. You get this like meaningful, like really concerned face. And he says, I mean, if the killer came after him, how come he's still alive? And Dean's like, I don't know. And then we zoom in on Bobby really dramatically before it flashes to white. And then we're inside Bobby's dream world. And we get a real insight into Bobby and his damage. And his backstory is so tragic.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So we cut to inside Bobby's dream. His face is all scratched up and he's managed to get away from the woman who's attacking him, but she's still screaming. And then he barricades the door. He then starts screaming, help me, which I thought was heartbreaking.
It was really heartbreaking. Also, because he has bags and stuff that he tries to barricade the door with, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I said he's using his actual emotional baggage to fight his PTSD. I was like, that's a little bit funny. And then I wrote, Bobby screaming, somebody help me is heart-wrenching, though.
Yeah, because it's like you said earlier, like him being scared is really...
It's a bridge too far. He's TV dad. Your dad can't be scared. It's not allowed.
I did think the zoom out was cool, though, so it kind of zooms out on him down the corridor.
Yeah, there's some very cinematic, really cool shots in this episode. It's very, very cool. I really enjoy it. There's some parts of the edit where they edited it a bit weird to make it more dreamy, where things like echo and repeat, and I'm just like, but there's other parts where it's awesome.
So we cut back to the hospital and Sam and Dean are discussing how they can find the homicidal Sandman.
Thirst trap.
Yeah, they're walking in unison and I put, Joy will think this is hot.
It is hot. I tried to break it down. I was like, why do I think this is so sexy? And it is the in unison thing, but it's the way they're doing it in unison, like a unit, like they're literally about to break some skulls on behalf of Bobby. That's what it is. It's like we're walking into a fight kind of a vibe. And I was like, that's a thirst trap.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sam points out that they would usually call Bobby in this situation to help them. And then Dean has an aha moment and says that they should go and talk to him. And Sam's like, what? And Dean explains they could take the dream route themselves and find him in his dream. Sam doesn't think this is a great idea, but ultimately agrees. However, they don't have any of the African dream route left. And Sam says, so unless you know someone who can score some, and then Dean goes, crap. And Sam's, what? Dean, Bella. And then Sam goes, Bella, crap.
Yeah.
That was funny.
And then I'm feeling dirty just thinking about it. But yeah, because they're like, are we really going to ask her for help?
Yeah.
And the reply, I'm feeling dirty just thinking about it. That cracked me up so hard. I just have like 6 crying, laughing emojis at this whole thing. It's amazing.
She's helpful, but they really don't want to have to, because they know they're going to have to do something back for her. Well, she just steals stuff, but yeah.
I feel like it's A, transactional, and her prices are high. And B, the way that they have banter always back and forth about who's better. And now they have to go and ask her to help them. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me.
Right, this next scene, I have to just explain my thought process as we go through. So we then cut back to the motel, and this is where I noticed the metal bird panel thing. So Sam opens the door and Bella walks in. She then takes her coat off and she's just wearing sexy underwear. And she tells Sam that she can't stop thinking about him. Now, this is before I realised it was a dream, and my initial reaction was, ew, no, why is Bella hitting on Sam? Followed closely by, I mean, actually, this kiss is hot though. And then I realised that he was dreaming.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought this is so funny because his reaction when he's awake is amazing. Like there's because it spins out into the whole thing, doesn't it? Because like he dreams
Yeah.
about her being there, and then she actually turns up and she's still wearing a trench coat, and she goes to take off the trench coat, and Sam is like, oh, and then he's like, oh, when it's just like normal clothes underneath, he's like, oh God, what's happening?
Yeah.
Dean also wakes Sam up because he's like, stop that.
Yeah.
Because they're in the
his
same
drool.
space.
The
His
drool.
drool is everywhere. He's like, oh my God, what just happened? So I wrote down Sam's fantasy made me actually laugh out loud. Awake
Yeah.
Sam is like, I hate her. But subconscious Sam is like, Bella's hot.
Yeah.
And like Dean is teasing him. Dean's like, what are you dreaming about? Because it's like he had to stop him from dreaming because it's going to get real awkward real quick with 2 brothers sharing a small space, right?
Mhm.
And he jokes about the noises he was making. He asks who he was dreaming about. And this part was actually kind of nice because he makes a joke, but it's not like a mean joke as it has been in the past. So I was like, oh, they've upgraded. They've turned Dean back into Dean. That's really nice. That makes me really happy. There's all the banter. And then Bella does turn up, and Sam is so awkward.
Yeah.
Like, so awkward. And even when Dean's on the phone calling Bella, he's like, oh, what did she say? And it's like he's like 12 years old and he can't even form sentences. And Dean's like, huh? And then she's there, okay? And Dean does this whole outraged door fling thing where he opens the door, sees who it is, flings it open, and is like, Bella, as I live and breathe. And it was such an odd thing for him to say. It made me laugh so hard. Sam is unbelievably awkward and does this whole finger gun wave where he's like, hi, Bella, but he just finger guns when he's waving to her. Oh my God. Those are my thoughts.
That was so funny. Yeah, he's so awkward. She says she's changed her mind and brought them some African dream meat. And I wrote, that's a huge stash. She gives them so much.
It's enormous.
And as her and Dean are talking, she goes to take her coat off and Sam is watching her. And it's like he stops breathing for a second and then breathes again when she realises she has clothes on. Dean asks what the strings are. And she says she just wants to help Bobby out because he saved her life once. Liar. So I was like, oh, Bobby saved Bella. But I wrote, poor innocent me still believed her at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too.
And I'd also said it would be cool to know more about Bella's story.
100%. I agree with that. I was wondering because Dean's kind of mean to her, I was wondering if Dean was actually a little bit nicer, if she wouldn't have done what she did. Because I was like, I maybe I'm being super naive, but I kind of think maybe she was actually trying to give an olive branch.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I wrote in all caps because there's that part where they're talking and he goes to put it in the safe where the Colt is. And I wrote Dean showing a thief the Colt for fuck's sake and like screaming all capitals. And then Sam, when she's leaving, they have an argument 'cause she's like, "Where am I supposed to go?" She wants to stay there with them.
She wants to
Dean
go
kick
on the trip with them.
Yeah. Dean's like, "It's not my problem, sucks to be you. Go and pay for some magic fingers in your motel room." Now, considering
That's what he
last
would do.
episode that they were together, that too, but also she said that they should have angry sex, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then we assume nothing actually happened, but he flirted with her and she flirted with him that whole episode. Um, Dean digs in, okay, and is kind of mean, from my point of view, and I, like, honestly wonder because I understand she was upset because she knew that Dean is crazy and would kill her, but also I kind of feel like she likes Dean,
Mm.
and I think this was maybe one of her very few attempts to actually get close to people, but I think
Yeah.
he ruined it because he was mean, and she decided, "All right, fuck you. I'm definitely gonna steal something way more I think she would have stolen something, but I don't think she would have stolen the Colt, but I think he
Yeah.
made her angry, and she was like, "Alright, bitch, it's on."
I think she did genuinely just want to hang out with him.
Yeah, I agree, because it's the way that she turned up,
Yeah,
and
in the
she
middle
brought
of the night.
extra in the middle of the night at, like, it was 1 or 2 AM. She
Yeah.
was like, "Where am I supposed to even sleep?" And he was like, "I don't care, fuck you." And she was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, okay, that's the vibe. Okay, fine." And then Sam says, "Nice to seeing you, Bella," when she's leaving.
And then Dean kind of looks at him like, "What?"
"What is wrong with you?" Yeah. I feel like the penny never drops, like, Dean never puts 2 and 2 together, which
No.
makes it actually even funnier. Oh my god.
So then in the next scene, Sam has made the dream root tea and takes a cup to Dean. And Dean says, "Should we dim the lights and sync up Wizard of Oz and Dark Side of the Moon?" And Sam doesn't get it. And Dean's like, "What did you do during college?" And I went, "He studied, Dean." He was actually there to study.
He was
Um,
at school actually being scholarly.
yeah. And I have written down 2 questions for you here.
Okay.
One, why are they both going into the dream world? It seemed a bit dangerous. So to start
Mm,
with, I was like, one should stay behind, surely. But
yeah.
then I second guessed myself and I was like, I mean, I guess if one of them gets in trouble, the other one can help. But then if they end up like Bobby, no one will know why.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's a really valid point, and I had a very similar thought where I was thinking it would make sense, very Nightmare on Elm Street, if you have one person who's awake watching the person who's sleeping to try to pull you out.
Yeah.
Um, I guess that, like, you wouldn't necessarily know if if they're in a super drugged sleep, like a coma-like sleep when they're on it, then you're maybe not gonna get, like, the flailing and the signs of distress, and then it's
Mm,
pointless. So, the conclusion that I came to was that if things happen like how they happened with Bobby, which there's no reason to assume that they wouldn't, having one behind is maybe less useful than having 2 against 1 because it gives them the upper hand. I guess 3 against 1 if they can find Bobby too. So that's my thought.
yeah. My second question was, why the hell does the tea look like a glass of fat?
Because when you make the actual herb that's sort of similar, it's supposed to be like but in the actual tradition, you're supposed to just drink the foam, like, it gets whipped up into that foamy stuff on the top, and then you only drink the foam, whereas they
Oh,
just drank,
okay.
like, the whole thing. But I don't know, I guess boys will be boys.
Anyway, so Sam puts Bobby's hair in both of their drinks,
Bleh.
explaining they need to do so to make sure they go into his dream. That was disgusting, yeah.
I couldn't do that, honestly, I'm sorry, Laura, but if you and Nick were trapped in a dream world, and people were like, "The only way for you to rescue them is for you to drink hair," I'd be like, "I'm sorry. Good luck to you."
I've probably drunk enough of my own hair, but someone else's.
It gives me the horrors because there's that whole thing like Rapunzel syndrome where
Hmm.
people would chew on the end of their hair and then end up with this I think they're called basoids or something, and I've read too much about it, and it just gives me the ick.
I
Like, the
used to
whole
chew on my
thing
hair like that when I was little.
Yeah, and anytime I hear it or I see it, all I can think of is horrible, horrible hair knots in your stomach
Ugh,
slowly killing you. No. So
hairball.
this was actually really horrible. Like human hairballs. Don't do it.
I suppose there's worse things because it said he said it has to be like a part of their body or whatever. Well, I'd
Yeah.
rather like drink someone's hair than say a fingernail.
If I was gonna do it, I would do an eyelash.
That's the same as hair.
It's different. You can make wishes on eyelashes and they're super, super tiny. They're like microscopic. And I feel like there'd be one of the most clean parts of your body.
Ugh, I don't know what I'd rather. I don't know. I don't even want to answer that question. It wasn't even a question.
Maybe you could just lick them, like just lick the
Ew.
person.
I think I'd rather eat their hair. It only looked like he'd put like one strand
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Okay.
So anyway, they drink their hair and don't think anything has happened. Although they were a bit impatient. It was like 2 seconds and Dean's like, "Do you feel anything?"
Yeah, that was funny.
But it turns out they were already in the dream anyway, because it starts raining upside down, according to Dean. He
Mhm.
looks out the window, then back into the room, and they've been transported into Bobby's dream. They realise that they're in Bobby's house, just a cleaner, less cluttered version. They call for him but get no response. Sam wants to go outside, but Dean tells him no and to stay close. And Sam's like, "Dude, I'll be fine." And I wrote, "Will you, Sam? Will you?" Nothing good ever happens when you two get separated.
It's very true. It's a very Dean trait. He was like, "I'll be fine." And then he just goes off to cut his own.
Well, he is turning into Dean, so
Yeah, it's true.
Sam goes outside and it's all beautiful and sunny, and then the door slams shut and Sam can't open it again, and Dean can't hear him either. And I wrote, "Oh no, they're separated. I knew this was going to happen." Meanwhile, inside, Dean goes into the kitchen and finds Bobby in a closet or a pantry or something. Bobby says, "Who's out there?" in such a quiet and meek voice that broke my heart. It's like, "Who's out
Aw.
there?" There's scratches on the outside of the door, and Dean gets Bobby to come out. Bobby is so scared and looks like he has tears in his eyes. Did you notice that? He looks so scared. He's like crying.
Yeah, it's so Jim Beaver is an amazing actor, can I just
Yeah.
say? Like I was there wholeheartedly and I wanted to cry.
Yeah, I didn't like it because he was scared.
And his face is all scratched up. Like you can see
Mm,
all these fingernail scratches on his face.
yeah. Dean tells him why he's there, like the dream route and the doctor's experiments
Mm.
and everything, but Bobby doesn't understand what he's talking about. The lights then start flickering and Bobby retreats back to the closet. Dean asks what's going on. Bobby says, "She's coming." Dean tries to explain that it's a dream and it's not real. Bobby then points and says, "Does that look made up?" And we see a woman in a white dress, classic ghost costume, with blood all
Mhm.
over it, walk towards them. The door slams shut before Bobby can go back inside the closet and looks really scared again. Dean asks who she is, and Bobby says she's his wife. And I wrote, side note, Bobby's wife looks a bit like Bella.
No. Rejected.
When I first saw her, I thought she looked a bit like her.
Fair enough.
So then we go back to the motel and we see Sam and Dean asleep on the beds. Then it flashes back to the dream world where Sam is walking around the garden of the house. Then we cut back to Bobby and his ghost wife is asking him why he did this to her.
She says, "Why did you do this to me?" And Bobby says, "I'd rather died myself than hurt you." And she says, "But you did hurt me. You shoved the knife into me again and again. You watched me bleed. You watched me die." And Dean's saying, "Bobby, she's not real," trying to break him out of it. And
Yeah.
Bobby doesn't respond in any way. He's just staring at his wife. And she says, "How could you?" And Bobby is basically crying. And he's like, "You were possessed, baby. You were rabid. And I didn't know what I know now. I didn't know how to save you." And she says, "You're lying. You wanted me dead if you'd loved me." And then she screams, "You would have found a way." And Bobby just kind of shrinks into himself and starts crying and crying. And he's like, "I'm sorry." And Dean grabs him and says, "Come on." And then he drags him into the living room. And as he's sliding the doors closed, Bobby's wife runs for the doors, and you think that she's gonna break through. It's really scary. Then
Mm.
outside, Sam is walking by this, like, clothesline, and it's really idyllic and really pretty, and then when he turns around, Jeremy is suddenly there swinging a bat at Sam and hitting him really hard. And then we cut to the motel room and we see Sam flinching from the force of it. So we sort of get the impression that, like, it's implied before, but now it's like directly implied that if they get killed in the dream world, they're going to die in real life.
Yeah.
Um, so Sam falls to the ground and looks like he may or may not be knocked unconscious. Like, we don't really know. There's then a really fast camera zoom who's just he's just out. Like, they just want us to know that he's really vulnerable, and it's pretty scary. And then in the next scene, he's on the ground, he's holding his shoulder, and Jeremy's over him, and Sam's asking him, "Who are you?" And Jeremy says, "Who are you? You don't belong here." And he's like, "You're one to talk. You're in my friend's head." And Jeremy says, "You got a poor choice of friends. This is self-defense. He came after me. He wanted to hurt me." And Sam's like, "That may be because you're a killer." Jeremy's like, "You should be nicer to me. In here, you're just an insect. I'm a god." And I was like, "You are literally a Wish version of Charles Manson."
Mm.
Um, and that made me laugh because if you look at this actor's like performance, his face in this performance, and then you look up like a mugshot of Manson, there's like they resemble each other. So Bobby's wife is screaming, jumping, banging on the doors, and Dean's putting his whole body weight against it, trying to stop her from getting in. And he's telling Bobby that it's just all a dream and he needs to snap out of it, basically, but he's doing it in a nice way, but it's kind of frantic at this point. And Bobby's crying, saying that he killed her. And Dean says, "Bobby, this is your dream and you can wake up. I mean, hell, you can do anything." So he's tying the doors together just as Bobby walks up behind him. And he says, "Just leave me alone. Just let her kill me already." And Dean grabs hold of him and he's trying to like shake him out of it. And he says, "Look at me. Look at me. You've got to snap out of this now. You got to snap out of this now. You're not going to die. I'm not going to let you die." And then he says, "You're like a father to me. You've got to believe me, please." And that part had my whole heart
Yeah.
because Bobby is his dad and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So they look at each other for a moment, and then Bobby looks once at the door, and you could tell he took everything in, and he says, "I'm dreaming." And Dean says, "Yes, now take control of it." And then he looks towards the door, and then he closes his eyes really tight, and then it all just stops. So they open the door, and she's gone, and Bobby says, "I don't believe it." And then Dean says, "Believe it. Now, would you please wake up?" That part's pretty funny. So Sam's still on the ground and Jeremy's standing over him and he says, "Sweet dreams." And then he raises the bat and Sam
Oh.
pulls up his, yeah. Sam at the last second pulls up his arm to take the impact and Jeremy starts to swing it down even harder. And then we cut to Bobby waking up really suddenly. And then we cut to Sam and Dean in the motel waking up really suddenly
In unison.
in unison as we like them to do.
Yeah. So then the next morning, presumably, the boys are with Bobby in the hospital going through the research. Dean asks about his wife and if what he said before was true. And Bobby says, everybody got into hunting somehow. Oh,
You're like,
that's why. It's like his version of Mary burning on the ceiling. It's him having
It,
to kill his wife because she was possessed.
it is. And I wrote, "Poor sweet Bobby and his guilt. No wonder he knows everything. It's the manifestation of his guilt. He never wants it to happen to anybody else again. So he tries to know everything all the time, basically."
Yeah.
I was like,
Dean says he's sorry, but Bobby says, "Don't be sorry," and that Dean just saved his life, and then he thanks him. And I wrote, Bobby is such a better dad than John, because
I
John
wrote
would
the
never
same
have,
thing.
he would
I was
never
like,
have thanked him.
emotional vulnerability, recognizing Dean's feelings, telling him the truth when he could have lied, and actually thanking Dean. And I wrote, Dean looks so happy. And I was like,
Aw.
his daddy loves him for the first time ever because Bobby's obviously his dad.
Mm.
And then Bobby told Dean his darkest secrets and his origin story after he's like, "You're like a father to me." So it's like reciprocation of that. It's like
Yeah,
him seeing him as his son as well. And it's beautiful.
it's really cute.
It's the cutest. So Sam comes in and says, "So Stoner Boy wasn't in his dorm. My guess is he's long gone by now." And Bobby corrects him and he's like, "He's not a stoner." And he gives him the rundown of all the research that he had on him and says that he's a genius with 160 IQ, which is saying something because his dad took a baseball bat to his head when he was a kid. And then you see a picture of his father in the file. Um, and then Bobby says that he died before Jeremy was 10, and Sam says sarcastically that he looked like a real sweetheart.
Mm.
And then this is where Bobby explains that the injury gave him the issue that he had where he can't dream. And then Dean's like, "Oh, well, till he started using the dream drug." And Bobby's like, "Yeah." And then Dean asks, "How did he know how to dig up your worst nightmare and throw it at you?" And he said, "Hey, he was rooting around my skull. God knows what he saw in there." And Sam's like, "Well, how did he even get in there? Isn't he supposed to have like your hair, your DNA or something?" And Dean's like, "Yeah." And Bobby says, "Yeah. Before I knew it was him, he offered me a beer. I drank it." You see Dean going, "Oh, fuck." And he says the dumbest friggin' thing. So Dean, who is realizing rapidly that he's made the exact same mistake, is like, I don't know. It wasn't that dumb." And then he laughs really nervously. And Sam and Bobby look at him like, what the fuck? Like, just tell me you didn't. And Sam actually is like, "Dean, you didn't." And Dean goes, "I was thirsty." Sam is furious and is like, "Oh, for fuck's sake." And Dean's like, "Well, we just gotta find him first and it'll be okay." And Bobby's like, "Well, we better work fast and coffee up because the one thing we cannot do is fall asleep."
Yeah. And then we got to 2 days later, and Dean has clearly not had any sleep. And he's hyped up on coffee. And this whole bit was really funny.
It is so funny. I wrote Angry Dean is basically Archer. And then I was like, "Laura, is now the time for my penguin story?" Like, we're really far into the episode, so I'm not really going to tell the story properly, but a summation is I also went through a phase where I was not sleeping. And what happens if you don't sleep is you start to hallucinate. When you get up to a really bad point, it's like your brain needs sleep for you to live. In order for you to actually be alive, you need to sleep. I was not getting enough. So I was starting to have daytime hallucinations, and I hallucinated the penguin from fucking Fight Club. He just turned up in my room, went slide, and then slid away. Which I started to say on, like, I don't know, it was like episode 1 or 2, and Laura was like, "They don't know us well enough for that. That's too unhinged.
Yeah.
That was not the time." And then I was watching this episode and I was like, "Laura, this is the time. This is the
The
place.
time is now.
The time is now. The time has come."
So yeah, so Dean's like hyped up and he's really angry about not being able to find Jeremy. And then Sam is just kind of looking at him like, "Are you sure you don't want me to drive? You seem a little caffeinated." And then I had a question for you. Do you think
Yeah.
Sam has slept in this time? Or do you think he's stayed up in support of his brother? Because he doesn't seem tired.
He doesn't seem that bad. So, but the thing is like Sam was, well, no, he doesn't have anything on Sam, does he? I
No.
assume I would like to think that Sam has been sleeping, but Dean and Bobby are clearly in a bad way, and it's really, really, really funny. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
But there's a bit as well where Bobby then calls him and then Dean gets annoyed at Bobby on the phone. And then Bobby's like, "Don't yell at me, boy. I'm working my ass off over here." And then Dean's
Yeah,
like, "Oh, sorry."
he's so contrite immediately.
Yeah. Bobby says that they have no leads left and Bella doesn't have any either. She's been consulting her tarot cards.
Wait, because I have a question. Is Bella a witch?
I don't know, because she's used like a spirit board before, hasn't she?
She has her Ouija board. She communicates with the dead, and now she has tarot cards in the mix.
Because she said that she used to tell old ladies, like, do little
Their
seances.
fortunes and do seances. So like I'm just like I never put 2 and 2 together, but I'm like, "Oh shit, I think Bella might actually be a witch." And if you think about it, technically speaking, with his expertise in magic and ability to perform magic, Bobby's kind of witchy as well.
Yeah.
Just saying. Just saying.
I like that. I like both of them being witches.
Thank you. My notes for this scene just say, "What the fuck is Flagstaff?" Question mark, question
Yeah.
mark, question mark, question mark.
I had that as well. Bobby's eye roll at the end first. So Dean is like, I can't remember what he says. He's just like, oh, I'm going to go kill myself now or something stupid. And
Yeah.
then Bobby just literally rolls his eyes when he puts the phone down.
It's great. I love Dean having temper tantrums.
Yeah. So Bobby then asks Bella why she's even helping them. And this is when she reminds him of Flagstaff. And Bobby's like, oh, yeah. And this is what, and I wrote, what is Flagstaff and what happened?
Yeah.
So back in the Impala, Dean has had enough and decides to go to sleep and fight Jeremy in the dream world instead. Sounds like not alone you aren't, and pulls some of his hair out.
Thirst trap.
And says he's going in as well. I'm going to drink your hair and come with you.
It's just, he's so protective and he just rips his hair out of his head. And I was like, that's a thirst trap. Like protecting your brother, sexy.
I wrote a note here to say that they should at least tell Bobby what they're about to do. Just so someone's aware.
100%. Okay. But that would involve either of them having any common sense, Laura.
Well, I mean, Sam went to Harvard or whatever. No, where did he go?
Stanford. Sam is really smart, but he does not always have common sense, as demonstrated by now. He can be really impulsive. So yeah, this is an example of Sam not really having impulse control and just being like, yeah, this is the solution. I'm going with you.
Also, did they just like eat the dream root neat, or did they make tea somehow in the car?
That is also an excellent question. All right.
Plot holes.
I literally never noticed these things. Thank God you're here.
So we cut to a little later and they're asleep. Sam wakes up and then wakes Dean. They don't realise that they are in the dream at first. And then they hear footsteps outside. And I wrote, ooh, spooky footsteps. This is very Friday the 13th now.
Ugh.
They get out of the car. Dream a Little Dream starts playing. And we see Lisa on a picnic blanket smiling at Dean, which is so cute because it's obviously what Dean wants.
It's so adorable.
And it's a thirst trap.
It is a thirst trap. Also, you know that he knows that he's been sad because of this drink.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Okay. So Lisa says, hey, you going to sit down? And Dean just looks at her and she has a glass of red wine in her hand and she reaches for another glass in the basket because she's laid out this beautiful picnic. And she's like, come on, we only have an hour before we have to pick Ben up from baseball. And then she's holding the glass out to him and she's smiling at him. And Sam is sort of just off the way, just like behind Dean's shoulder, taking everything in. And Dean's just looking at Lisa like he is drinking her in, but then also realizes that his brother is there and it's a weird vibe. And he says, I've never had this dream before.
Yeah,
he turns away from Sam and we can tell that he's 100% lying. So Sam takes a couple of steps towards him and Dean's like, stop looking at me like that. And Sam's like, sorry. And then Lisa says, Dean, I love you. And she smiles. And then the scene shakes and the light and the music disappears and Dean looks around and Sam turns around as well. And Dean's like, where'd she go? And this is when things sort of start to kick off.
I just wanted to point out though, I liked the lighting on this bit.
It
was very
beautiful.
theatrical. It was like she was in a spotlight.
Yeah, it was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so this is when Sam notices Jeremy in the trees and they chase after him, but they get split up again. And I put, for God's sake, boys, stop getting
Keep
split
it together.
up.
Yeah.
Literally, keep yourselves together.
Yeah.
So Dean is now in a corridor with tree wallpaper and we get that zoom out that I liked from before again. Dean walks down the corridor and a door opens. He goes inside and sees another Dean.
Dun, dun, dun. So what I've done, this happens over multiple scenes. We have lots of splits, but I feel like the dialogue is a lot more impactful if it's just one stream. So I've put it all together so that we just have an uninterrupted sample of Dean talking to Dean. So Dream Dean says, hey, Dean. And Dean says, well, aren't you a handsome son of a gun? And I was like, one, I absolutely love this. And two, I'm so sure that that's an Ash reference. Like, I'm sure that's a Evil Dead thing. I'm absolutely sure that Ash says that. So Dream Dean says we need to talk. And Dean nods and starts walking in a kind of a circle. And so does the dream version of himself. And they're walking in the same direction across from each other, just kind of echoing each other. And Dean says, I get it. I'm my own worst nightmare. Is that it? Huh? Kind of like the Superman 3 junkyard scene, a little mano a mano with myself, which As someone who's obsessed with Superman, and Superman is my comfort character, and Dean is the other comfort character, that made me so happy, and it's such a cool reference. I loved it. Um,
Yeah.
Dream Dean then says, "Joke all you want, smart ass, but you can't lie to me. I know the truth." And then they stop walking, and they've changed places. And Dean's standing by the desk, and Dream Dean is by the door. And he says, "I know how dead you are inside, how worthless you feel. I know how you look into a mirror and hate what you see." And Dean starts looking a little bit emotional, like this is getting to him, but he says, "Sorry, pal, this is not going to work. You're not real." And the dream version of Dean says, "Sure, I am. I'm you." And Dean says, "I don't think so, because see, this is my siesta, not yours." And then he raises his left hand all dramatic. "All I got to do is snap my fingers and you go bye bye." And then he snaps his fingers and nothing happens. And then Dean's smile kind of fades and he snaps again and he notices nothing's happened. And then Dream Dean's watching him menacingly and then he snaps him 3 more times and then he lets his hand fall to his side and his eyebrows go up. And he's like, "What the fuck?" And the dream version of himself gives him this, like, "I told you so" nod. And he says, "I'm not going anywhere. Neither are you." And then the door shuts behind them and everything locks down. And now Dean's like, "Oh, fuck." And then the dream version of him says, "Like I said." And then he raises his hand and he now has a sawed off shotgun. "We need to talk." And he says, "I mean, you're going to hell and you won't lift a finger to stop it." And they're circling each other again like they're going to fight. And Dream Dean says, "Talk about low self esteem." And then he laughs and he says, "Then again, I guess it's not much of a life worth saving now, is it?" And Dean to himself says, "Wake up, Dean. Come on, wake up." And then the dream version of him says, "I mean, after all, you've got nothing outside of Sam." And they start circling each other. They stop and face each other. They're now back in their original positions. Dean's by the door and Dream Dean is by the desk. And he says, "You're nothing. You're as mindless and obedient as an attack dog." And Dean is kind of like trying to laugh it off. And he says, "That's not true." And then the other Dean says, "No. What are the things that you want? What are the things that you can dream? I mean, your car, that's Dad's. Your favorite leather jacket, Dad's. Your music, Dad's. Do you even have an original thought?" Dean scoffs and he says, "No, no. All there is watch out for Sammy. Look out for your little brother, boy. You can still hear your dad's voice in your head, can't you?" He motions with the weapon to his head and he says, "Clear as a bell." And then Dean says, "Just shut up." And then the dream version of himself lowers the gun, like he's threatening Dean with it more now. And he says, "I mean, think about it." And then he walks towards him and he says, "All he ever did is train you, boss you around." And now they get like right up in each other's faces. And Dean says, "I mean it. I'm getting angry." And his doppelganger says, "Dad knew who you really were, a good soldier and nothing else. Daddy's blunt little instrument." He says, "Your own father didn't care whether you lived or died. Why should you?" And Dean, who's really angry now, says, "Son of a bitch." And he pushes him really hard, knocking him into the wall above the desk. And he's screaming, "My father was an obsessed bastard." And the dream version of himself tries to get up, but Dean kicks him down on the desk again, holds the weapon as a bat and hits him a couple of times and then pins him to the wall with it. And then he says, "All that crap he dumped on me about protecting Sam, that was his crap. He's the one who couldn't protect his family. And he steps back and he swings the weapon again, hitting the doppelganger in the head. He says he's the one who let Mom die. And he pins him down and he says he wasn't there for Sam. I always was. He wasn't fair. I didn't deserve what he put on me. And he backs away and he says, "And I don't deserve to go to hell." And I just thought that was really important. So I put it all together in one
Yeah.
sequence.
I thought it was interesting to see how, like, at the start of the series, sorry, at the start of
Mm,
the series, he idolized John, but now he's starting to
yeah.
realize that
Now he's realized what his
he
dad
was
was
actually
actually like.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the thing is like Sam in the beginning was actually right. And you don't think that he's right because the script makes you love Dean so much. Like Sam's kind of
Yeah.
obnoxious in season 1, especially towards the beginning. And so he just comes off like this spoiled kid who wants to go his own way. And then the more that you get into the season and the depth and the characters, and the more you get who John actually is as a father, which is like not one, the more you realize that actually Sam was really healthy and really right in trying to get away. And Dean bore the brunt of just everything his whole life.
Yeah. So while all this was happening with Dean and Dean, Sam is confronting Jeremy. So Sam wakes up in the car and he thinks Dean's next to him, so he kind of like goes to wake him up, but then we see it's Jeremy. That was scary.
Yeah, that was scary.
He hits Sam with a bat. He falls out of the car. So he basically starts beating Sam up, saying that the reason he killed the doctor in the first place is because he got him hooked on the dream route and then like took it away from him. He then like ties Sam up. He's in a dream, so he's like imagining that he's tied up, so he is.
Yeah.
Then he's just beating Sam up. This is where it keeps cutting backwards and forwards. Jeremy tells Sam that he can't stop him because he took dream route, and Sam's like, yeah, well, so did I, and then makes Jeremy's dad appear. While he's distracted, Sam hits him and Jeremy wakes up in real life, and then so does Sam and Dean. Now, I didn't really understand how this worked because, like, why didn't they just do this earlier? So if they've taken dream route,
Mm-hmm.
they can manipulate what's going on, but then so could Bobby not before?
So I have a couple of answers to that. Number one, Bobby did not know that it was not real. From
He wasn't
Bobby's
lucid.
perspective, he wasn't lucid. He thought that everything was happening was real. He was in his house. The ghost of
Yeah.
his wife was coming to kill him, right? So that explains Bobby. With Dean has so many active inner demons. My impression was that it was really easy for Dean to be like cornered. Sam is different though. And Sam also has powers, which Bobby brings up later, because it's kind of clear from Sam's face that he's lying to Bobby when he says that it didn't have anything to do with his psychic stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote Sam's a dream warrior. And when he said I took the dream route too, I went, ooh, because that was the third strike. So in my opinion, Sam uses his psychic abilities to catch up to our super genius 160 IQ guy who's taken dream route for, I don't know how long the study went on for, but like we're led to believe it's like a year or more or something, and that he's mastered it over time. Sam is A, super fucking smart also, but B, a fire baby. So he has a lot going for him. So I think he saw the file and he projects the image of this guy's dad coming in to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, because I'd forgotten about they weren't lucid. Like they know they're going into a dream when they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, before they wake up though, we missed the bit about Dean. So Dean basically kills the other Dean, and then he turns into a demon, and that was really scary. He has like black eyes.
That was dark, literally. Yeah.
He was scary. So then later, Sam and Bobby are talking, and Bobby is asking if Sam could do all of that because of his psychic stuff. And this is where I write, oh yeah, what happened to Sam's powers? We haven't seen him for ages. And then Sam says no, but he doesn't really sound very convinced. They go to the motel room, and Dean asks if they've seen Bella, as he can't find her, and he says it's weird that she just took off. And Bobby says it's weird that she even helped us in the first place. And Dean's like, I thought you saved her life. And Bobby's like, what? He says that the thing in Flagstaff was that he gave her a good deal on an amulet. And this is where I wrote, I bet Bella stole something. And then Bobby says, you boys better check your pockets. This is funny because Sam literally checks his pockets, and Bobby's like, I didn't mean literally.
And he says it with such a tone of, you fucking idiot. Yeah. Like, it's like just dripping with, I'm disappointed.
So Dean goes to the safe, and then this is where he realizes the cult is gone. And then Dean says they're going to go and hunt her down. So outside at the car, Sam and Dean talk about what they saw in the dream. Sam says he just saw Jeremy, and Dean doesn't admit to seeing another version of himself. Because I wrote, Sam says, what about you? And I wrote, oh, I shot myself and then turned into a demon.
Casual. So Dean says, Sam, and Sam looks over at him. And Sam's like, yeah. And Dean doesn't look at him. And then he says, I've been doing some thinking. And well, the thing is, I don't want to die. And Sam looks so sad, but like, thanks for ruining the moment. Beautiful.
That's what I do best.
Dean says, I don't want to go to hell. And Sam is kind of like very emotional. He nods and he says, all right, yeah, we'll find a way to save you. And it's honestly, it's such a beautiful moment. And Dean's like, okay, good. And Sam nods at him and he's reassuring him. And in this case, it's beautiful because Dean's being vulnerable and Sam's acting like the big brother. And it's so cute. But then they had to ruin it because the scene goes in slow motion and Dean looks off to one side. And then you see Dream Dean. And he's like, "You can't escape me, Dean." And you see inside the motel room and he has his black eyes and he says, "You're going to die." And then you see him waking up as a demon after getting shot. And then he says, "And this is what you're going to become." And then he looks full demon eyes at the camera, smiles, snaps his fingers, and the screen goes black.
That was really scary at the end, the little finger click bit.
That was quite rude, honestly. They took us from this beautiful emotional moment and then they threw us out into, let's be really fucking scared. I
Yeah.
was not impressed.
I thought it was good, but it was scary.
Mm.
So yeah. Any final thoughts or games?
Games.
Villain hot or not?
No, absolutely. No, hell no. Hell to the no.
That's Jeremy, right? No.
Yeah.
Scare rating?
Oh, 5.
I've got 6. But it was mainly just for like Bobby's wife, really. She was scary.
Yeah, that's
And
where
Demon Dean.
Demon Dean and Bobby's wife were the 2 scariest parts of this, hands down. There's also the part where Sam is like looking like he's being crucified and Jeremy's beating him and it looks like he's in a really bad way, and that part's pretty scary for me. But there was also so many heartfelt moments that it sort of leveled off and made it sort of like halfway scary.
Yeah. What were your favourite quotes?
Oh. Crap. Bella, crap.
I did have that at one point, but I chose different ones in the end.
I also really like the nice to seeing you, Bella.
Oh, Sam.
That was so good. And also my other favorite was, this is probably my most favorite. I'm feeling dirty just thinking about it, but yeah. It's just like about asking her for help. What did you pick?
I had 2. I had a cute one and then a funny one. So my cute one was Dean saying, "You're like a father to me," to Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
And then my funny one was, "You seem a little caffeinated."
Yeah. You seem a little unhinged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't be driving this car.
Do not drive sleep deprived.
Right. You did another poem.
I did make a poem. Yay.
What was your favourite thirst trap?
When they're walking down the hospital hall in unison to save Bobby, thirst trap.
Uh-huh. Mine was Sam and Bella's kiss in the dream.
Oh. Oh, I see. Wow.
Who do you think the MVP was? I'm not actually sure.
Oh, that is a good question because without Bella getting in the dream route, everyone's fucked. But then Sam defeats the bad guy. And without that, everybody's fucked.
Yeah. Dean defeats himself
And then
his
Dean
demons.
defeats himself and also defeats Bobby's demons and gets Bobby out.
Yeah,
and then
Bobby.
You need him to save Bobby in order for the rest of the episode to roll on too, because like otherwise everybody's fucked. So
Maybe it's just a joint effort.
It's just a joint effort. There's no singular standout player. I feel like it's everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the family business.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a standout person. Motel.
I
Rating.
liked it. It was trippy, but I thought it was really pretty and I really like the colors. It has a lot of my favorite color combinations.
Yeah, same. I like the teal and any kind of green I love.
Yeah, I give it a 5. And I would
4.
Stay there.
Yeah, I would. I kind of liked the psychedelic bird motel. It looked clean too. 4 stars.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the next episode because I know it's the one. Is it? Well, I think it's the one where the day repeats itself over and over again.
It is. It's the Groundhog Day episode,
I've
isn't
definitely
it?
seen some clips from that, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Everyone's obsessed with it. It is people's favorite episode by and large.
I'm going to have another earworm as well, aren't I?
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
Should
so
we-
that'll be good.
Yeah. It will be really fun. Should we say goodbye?
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at the Witches of Letters podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.